Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I am Nicole Sienna, the VP of Studio for Red Cloud Financial Services, and I'm going to moderate today's webinar. Today, we're here with the team at Lomiko Metals, and you're going to be introduced to them very shortly. Just a reminder to all the folks that are joining us live on the stream today, there is a chat function on the side of your screen. As we go through the presentation today, please feel free to drop your questions in the bar there, and we'll get into everything shortly at the end of the presentation. So all of that being said, Belinda, I'll hand it over to you to do intros.
Good afternoon, everyone. You've got the Lomiko team here. My name is Belinda Labatte. I'm the CEO and also interim chair of the board for Lomiko Metals. With me today is Vince Osborne presenting, and as well we have Gordana Slepchev, who is Chief Operating Officer and available for questions. So I'm going to kick off this presentation today and talk to you about the plan and strategy for Lomiko Metals, a responsible developer of choice in Quebec, Canada, and as we've been demonstrating of late, showing ourselves as a partner of excellence in North America for a shared climate success story. We're listed on the TSXV under symbol LMR and on the OTC LMRMF. I draw your attention to our disclaimer, which you can read at your convenience. I'd like to begin this presentation with a land acknowledgement. We are located with the traditional land of the Algonquin Anishinaabe and the Cree Inuit people. Our vision is to embrace Indigenous people and Indigenous values on the path to developing a sustainable approach to critical minerals development and honoring the lives, memories, and hopes of all 7 generations close. We'll be focusing today's presentation on the Loutre graphite project in Quebec. We are a Quebec operator, and the project is located on Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabe First Nations territory, which is the Algonquin Nation. The sustainability perspective of a critical minerals project is where we begin, and we know that we can create a positive impact at the community level and at the country level and in North America, and also create shareholder value by staying true to this philosophy. The Quebec battery metals strategy involves from mine all the way to recycling. And to get to recycling, you need to really be focusing on exploration, extraction, and the transformation of the materials. And that is where Lomiko plays its role and its part. We aim to be fully integrated in the battery value chain in Quebec and North America, a responsible operator of choice. And we know that Quebec has clean power and everything it takes to produce the cleanest battery in North America. So applying R&D funds and innovation and our philosophy of being inclusive at the community level with our Eco-Logo certification is the first principles on creating shareholder value at Lomiko. In terms of recent news, very proud to have obtained the first concurrent funding from Canada and USA, with over $16 million in concurrent funding announced May 16th. This was in fact 2 days after the United States announced tariffs on EVs, batteries, and graphite, showing that we are part of an energy security policy between the two countries to ensure that we have domestic capacity. These awards are non-dilutive and they are non-repayable. We are the recipient of US $8.35 million of pure R&D funds from the United States of America, coming from the Department of Defense. And we are able to now show investors that we have a fully de-risked path of development with funding for more than 50% of project costs. We'll go into a little bit more detail on that. This was part of a much larger initiative where Canada and the United States joined together to look at energy transformation and support key players in the industry, of which we are one. The DoD grant is specifically called a Technology Investment Agreement, and it supports studies for Loutre from now, so to complete the pre-feasibility stage, the baseline and metallurgical studies, as well as the definitive feasibility study. These matching funds are to take place over a period of 5 years. The Canadian Critical Minerals Program is administered by Natural Resources Canada to pilot the integrated graphite optimization from concentrate all the way to battery grade, anode grade product. The CMRDD program administered by Natural Resources Canada is an award of Canadian $4.9 million for a total contribution agreement of $6.6 million, where Lomiko will contribute 25% of this funding. This is to pilot a 200 metric ton bulk sample over 3 years. And it supports not only the DoD grant in terms of the phases of development, but also a very specific initiative to show that we can provide anode grade material into the North American supply chain. It involves 4 tasks: crushing, grinding, and flotation of Loutre graphite, chemical and thermal purification, micronization, spheritization of the flotation concentrate, and finally, carbon coating. We have already shown and demonstrated very good results with smaller samples on the Loutre graphite that we are able to take it from concentrate to battery grade material. So this is really the next step with larger quantities. The Loutre development timeline is such that we have now provided, as mentioned before, a de-risked path through the study period. The US DoD provided a grant for 50%, and the NRCan is contributing 75% of the pilot program costs. And what we are looking to do is find strategic partners to work with us from phase 1 through to phase 3. And then the construction decision is phase 4. Where we are today is looking at pre-feasibility study, where we have already completed 50% of the studies. And we have continued with baseline data collection and a number of other studies at the local level to ensure that we have the right baseline information available. Water quality management, noise management, and many other studies continue. The next step, and this is again something that we are continuing, is metallurgical studies. We did obtain a grant from Lithium early in phase 3. This period taking, in our estimation, approximately 5 years, assuming we have full access to capital. The China dynamic. So we're reading a lot about this. There's a lot of interest in this. There's some decisions that are going to be made on the Canadian side as well. We know that China is the world's top graphite producer and exporter. And we know that effectively, a trade war on critical minerals has been ongoing for a number of years. China declared its intention to implement export permits in December 2023, and 2 days before our announcement, May 14th, tariffs were initiated in the United States. So what this means for Lomiko is that we have to provide an additional point of domestic capacity. We already know that one of our peers in Quebec has already allocated 85% of their graphite capacity to 2 customers. So the next player to be able to enter into the market could feasibly be Lomiko, and knowing that we are in the Grenville graphite trend with excellent metallurgical results so far. On that note, this explains to you visually that Grenville graphite belt and the fact that this is really the Quebec competitive advantage in North America. Nowhere else can you see this kind of a conglomeration of graphite assets, of which we are at the southern tip and the largest undeveloped project in proximity to the United States Battery Highway. You can see us, we are B here. And this is about a 2,000 kilometer long trend of very strong graphite showings that make us globally relevant. We are poised to be the responsible developer of choice in southern Quebec. What we have is access to infrastructure. We have certainly access to people. We know that there is significant need for revitalization in the area where we are, for jobs, and to be able to access power and roads, which is something that you do not need to or do not have when you're looking at projects in the north. So we are located very close to both the Montreal area and to the United States. And what you can see here, which is in fact over 50 battery plants currently in development in the United States. Graphite is still used as the primary feed into the EV batteries and into the anode. To position ourselves over the last few years to be that operator of choice, it takes a lot of work to partner up. This is an industry that really demands collaborations and working together to be able to accelerate the work to get to being a responsible operator in North America, which is 100% or just about 100% import dependent on graphite. So we have worked with a number of organizations in Quebec. We have ICYMI as a shareholder, having vended in one of their assets. We have been working with the National Research Council on R&D for the graphite to concentrate to CSPG, NRC, Lithium, Ecologo, and also very proudly working with Femina, bringing in more women into the industry to address what we think is a talent pool that is becoming more and more challenging for the mining industry as a whole. So in critical minerals, you have to think different, and we're the team that is looking to do that and apply innovation in our day-to-day relationships and partnerships that you can see here. I am going to continue on the Loutre graphite project. I know Gordana is here in the room, but I am going to continue just because we may have some noise in the background, but she is available for questions on this presentation. The Lomiko advantage, and we're very proud that with the drilling that we did in our last exploration campaign, and we issued an updated mineral resource estimate in 2023, we became the 7th largest project in the world with 2.9 million tons of resources in our portfolio. This is a very strong showing across the world, particularly when you're looking at the North American context, and providing great valuation upside as we develop this project for our investors. We achieved 184% increase in tonnage and indicated mineral resources. And so you can see here going from 1 million tons to 2.9 of in situ graphite with a grade that is approximately 4.59, certainly a good grade and very high levels of concentrate coming out of that, and also a low cutoff grade, meaning that we can get the material out as a low-cost operator. And we have also, as we did convert much of the inferred into measured and indicated, we did still continue to add inferred resources into both deposits, allowing for more exploration to take place and to focus in these deposits as needed as we advance the project. The Loutre PEA came out in September 2021. We are now 50% of the way through the PFS, and we continue to work on the basis of these two zones here. These are just names. They have no particular meaning. The EV zone on the north, the battery zone just sitting below. The life of mine plant production is 21.8 million tons of mill feed at 6.78% carbon diluted, making this a strong project with approximately 15-year mine life of approximately 100,000 tons per year of graphite. At our fine flake distribution, over 60% being fines, we're estimating approximately 50% of that is anode grade. That we have also tested with metallurgical tests all the way through. When we started as a leadership team just over 2.5 years ago, we exceeded the PEA tests with our PFS level testing. The open circuit variability flotation tests produced concentrate grades between 97.9%, 99.7%, very strong recoveries, very high purity graphite that we can and need to develop further to better understand this prospect. Also, you'll see it's a focused footprint relative to the claim size. We do understand we're working within a community setting, so we want to work within a very tight footprint to bring this project to the next step. Part of that has involved battery testing. These were led by Gordana and her team. They are very strong tests. You can see images here of what it looks like when you're taking our graphite and doing testing for both half cells and full coin cells here. So the half cell coin and single layer pouch demonstrate that the Loutre CSPG quality is meeting or even surpassing industry standards. And what we have shown is that compared to reference material, we have superior graphite to what is commercially available. And right now, as mentioned before, just about everything is imported. So to be able to provide a source of natural flake graphite in Quebec with clean power into the US and Canadian supply chain is really the mission here. As well, we often get questions about flake distribution as people are more and more intrigued and informed on graphite. So what you want to be seeing here is a strong profile for fine flakes, which is a 100 mesh material. We are 67%, almost 70% fines content in the flotation concentrate. That anode market is expected to grow 30 to 40% year over year. And minus 100 mesh is the one that is most commonly used. And you can see here the calculation from MetPro that was done last year showing the fine flake distribution, which is almost like a very fine powder and highly amenable to the next step of, or to CSPG. The community. This is the key to moving forward together. We believe that social and community engagement is a process. We recognize we are in a period of disruption, that we are also the first to obtain a grant from the United States, moving that into Canada. And so our role is to convey accurate information, answer questions, apply all the innovation that we can into these studies, and do so in a respectful environment. We've taken a number of actions over the last 2 years. We're very proud that we have a Quebec leader in the clean energy space working with us. She joined us just a while ago after the PDAC, and she is the Chief Sustainability Officer, Cindy Valence, based in the Laurentians. We have a regular presence in the municipalities. We engage continuously, and we will be doing a series of meetings in the area, one of which is happening this coming Sunday. We also have an ongoing communication channel to Chief and Council, and we are committed to providing community-centered studies that incorporate community feedback. So as an example, we know that road access, while we have it, which is excellent, we are not off-grid, we want to do so in a way that is appropriate. And we've already received input from the local communities that there is interest to work with us to establish road access routes. Noise monitoring continues, and we also have requests to continue with water quality monitoring on progressive and closure reclamation models that include community input. And this is what we are doing and expect to continue to do with our studies. In terms of the exploration potential, we did announce this week that we raised $600,000 of flow through. We continue with the hard dollar financing. We really know that a regional approach to graphite development is key for this area. So we have claims outside of Loutre. We want to do more work. We know that there are more and more work that needs to be done in some of these prospects here. So we have 6 early stage projects. We will be continuing to doing work there, particularly in Boyd and others. We will also look to do non-invasive work at Loutre, as well as understand better the EV deposit and continue to apply a regional approach to our work with Lomiko and graphite in this area. You can see here that the Loutre EV zone plan view shows that we have, although we drilled 53 drill holes, we do know that it is open on the north and south end. We certainly can do more work on this particular deposit, and that is something that is going to be a work in process. We have nothing specific to announce here, only to highlight the areas that where we can consider further exploration. We press released a number of strong results. I won't go over this in detail, but this is to say that it is a very good resource that needs to be further developed. with strong mineralization results throughout the EV zone, and it is open at the extension and still at depth. We also discovered graphite in the marble zones, making this very good for a future production model. That's the battery zone, and more results here on shoulder sampling, which I will simply bypass in order to move to the Lomiko Advantage, which is an area that I'd like Vince to review with you.
Great, thanks, Belinda. So when we did the PEA and released that back in 2021, we used a graphite concentrate price of about $916 per ton US. And then when the resource was updated following that drilling campaign, the long-term pricing moved up to about $1070. So when you look at some of the sensitivity that we did, you can see with that increase in price, our NPV after tax went up about 97 million to 283, and an IRR of 27.8. And that's off of a base of a PEA that had fairly strong economics. What we see out in public space is graphite selling, concentrate selling at about $1,500 US a ton. So when again we layer that back into the analysis we did in the PEA, the economics improve quite substantially. Your post-tax NPV moves from 186 million, that was in the PEA, up to over 500 million. So very strong economics. It's a low-cost operation, so all-in sustaining costs of $406 a ton, which really provides a lot of upside from the project. As far as another point on the Lomiko Advantage, when you start looking at pricing that's about $1,500 per ton, you get a fairly efficient NPV to CapEx multiple of 2.2 times. And when we compare this to the peer group, the project really stands out. So on this bottom axis here, we've got concentrate grade, which Belinda's gone through, and we're seeing grades of about 99%. And then when you look at the other axis of NPV to CapEx at 2.2, the project really stands out from the peer group on a very efficient use of capital, considering the returns that you can get as you get this pricing upside. So again, what we call another Lomiko Advantage. I'll hand it back over to Belinda to wrap it up and give you the summary of the overall project.
Thank you, Vince. And again, Gordana is here. So if you have any questions specifically on the operations side, please put them in the chat or any other question and we will answer that. So to give you our notion of the Lomiko Advantage and the catalyst here, first of all, we are all investors in this, and we have brought in committed investors in multiple rounds because we know that there is a fantastic opportunity in front of us. This is a minimum 15-year life of mine at the PEA level. This does not count the additional resources, as I mentioned, where we went from 1 to almost 3 million tons of in situ graphite. So it is a strong project with merits to really put natural flake graphite into the supply chain here in North America. The support that we have received, the first ones to get both federal and United States funding, is very meaningful because it allows every investment dollar to go that much further. So there's a tremendous amount of momentum that we have in front of us here with these grants. So the potential for wealth creation is there. The premium product we've described to you that what you want to look for anode grade graphite is a fine flake distribution, which we have. And you want to see something that is easy to purify. And we've been able to achieve that purity with three cycles of flotation in a lab setting. We're located in a stable jurisdiction with access to clean energy. You may have heard that Quebec has recently reaffirmed that it intends to have EVs on the road, I believe 2035. So recommitting to the EV strategy in Quebec, and we are part of that value chain. We're located in the heart of the North American graphite belt, can provide a significant amount of demand for graphite to North American EVs. And we are applying day to day a partnership focus and reiterate that the social acceptability for any of these projects is really about time and creating the space for open minds to come in and work with us and ask the questions that have to be asked, because we are in a period of disruption. it is clear that many people at the table are learning, the automakers, the critical mineral companies, and communities. And we do need to work together to get to the next step and bring this economic growth and decarbonization into Canada. With that, I would like to give it back to the moderator for any final comments, and thanks for your time today.
That's great. Thanks, Belinda. We do have a few questions coming in from the line. Just a reminder, everybody can submit their questions on the right side of their screen. We have one that says, what are the advantages to investors, if any, of consolidating LMR stocks yesterday?
I'll take that one, and I appreciate the question. It's something that every management team will grapple with when you're at the stage where you've got a large share count. And I appreciate that there's always going to be divergent views around whether you should do it and when to do it. And what we decided was that after many conversations with investors, new, existing, conversations around the board table, conversations with this management team, that we needed to do this now, that we were going to get support from our long-term shareholders, that it made sense that when you're trading under 5 cents, it brings in a lot more algorithmic trading and day traders. And we felt that this was setting us up for success as one of the things that we needed to do at some point, and this was the time to do it, to show that we have a rational share count that would bring in funds and other institutional and frankly individual investors that are looking for a tighter share count. I appreciate that question.
Sticking on the line here, another question's asking if you are followed by any institutions and what your float is.
Vince, do you want to address the float and investor profile?
So following the consolidation, our share count is approximately 40 million shares. As we're closing a financing, our flow through in hard dollar, at least the first tranche this week, will probably be approximately 43 million following those closes.
Perfect.
In terms of followed by institutions, we certainly are talking with institutional investors regularly. Not everyone will come and invest at this stage of development, so it's a process of updating and making sure that everybody understands our vision and story. And we do not have any specific research coverage, so I hope that answers the question on the institutional following.
Great. Pivoting over a little bit, can you talk a little bit about the access to the EV and battery zones, and what is the distance between the two deposits?
Gordana?
Maybe I'll take that one on. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, I lost the power today. There was a big storm here in Toronto, and can you imagine that, the climate's changing, everything's changing. We need these kind of deposits here and production to be expedited for sure. So apologies for the call. So the deposits are really nearby. There is maybe a difference of about 150 to 100 meters between the deposit. Access is now to the community of Lac de Plage, but the plan is to build its own independent access, and we're working with the communities to actually identify the best route to this point. So I hope this answered the question.
If there are any follow-up questions, please feel free to put them in the chat as well. Dennis is wondering about the DoD grant. Is there any additional conditions to that deal, such as commitment in the supply chain?
I'll take that one. I think we're the first. I think it's fantastic. There's going to be many more. I've spoken with people who are in the process. This is all about creating a better environment to bring the critical minerals into production here in North America, recognizing that private capital isn't going to do it. And if you look at the comparison to China, which has state-planned economy and always has, you can see how that has really allowed for a position of dominance. Now, we are not in China, so we do not have conditions about providing this product to anyone specifically. This was an agreement that was specifically a technology investment agreement. So it is about R&D and putting money in to stimulate the investment to match those R&D funds. The goal is exactly as it has been stated in numerous press releases and the statements coming from the White House and the DoD, which is this is to supply and ensure energy security and decarbonization in North America. And I again want to reiterate that the United States is Canada's largest trading partner. So we are just reinforcing a relationship that always existed and that I think makes both countries stronger for doing so.
Looking a little bit further ahead here, what is the budget for exploration programs this year?
That budget, I suppose we can really look at what the release came out with this past week. So we know that we raised $600,000. We do want to do more work. We have some flow that we need to spend by the end of the year. And it's still a work in process as to where we want to apply the funding. But you can definitely use those numbers of 600,000 as the round number of what we want to spend in the next year and a bit around our claims and around the claims that we have and the regional early stage claims.
Great. And any plans for exploration at the lithium project?
The lithium project we touched on very briefly, only because we have decided to not do any more work on that prospect. We have achieved our 49% ownership. It's at the tip of the Nemaska lithium belt. It's a very large concession. However, we decided that in time that will have value. And at the moment, for further exploration, this is not the priority for the company. So we're happy with our 49% ownership that we achieved.
Okay. Are there any potential buyers of your products identified or off-taking agreements in negotiation?
Well, if they were in negotiation, we wouldn't be talking about them publicly. But we've had many conversations, and they continue to evolve. We continue to have new people call out to Gordana or the company through different channels. So I think it's definitely a moving piece to the puzzle. We would very much like to work with a off-taker and customer, and we know that the piloting of the graphite with that 200 metric ton sample is key to getting more interest. You simply need to have more volumes that you can show are anode grade, and that's really what we want to advance and why we applied for that particular grant in Canada.
Okay. The chat is going off. So everyone, thank you so much for submitting your questions. We'll try to get to all of them. Guy is wondering what is now a reliable date to get your PFS?
The date is really something that is subject to having the strategic partner come in to be able to really unlock the true value of those grants in front of us. So rather than putting a date, like many other companies out there, the market conditions are challenging. What I can say is that will take 7 months once we have the full access to capital to be able to do the studies within the PFS. And we have a 5-year window with the US grant, and that's really matching up with our own view, although we can do it if possible, potentially in shorter time period, but we have up to 5 years to get all the way to the point of a construction decision.
Okay. Moving on to Hugo, he's wondering about the depth of your discovery. Is it shallow?
Is he talking about, is that a question for Gordana related to the deposits?
Sounds like it. Maybe just give it a shot, do your best. And Hugo, if you have a follow-up, please just put it back in the chat.
Yeah, so the deposits, both EV and battery zones, are about 300 to 400 meters deep. So yes, the ore comes to the surface as shown on some of these cross sections. And I have really to say that with the drilling we did in 2022, we have intersected the 150 meters of the continuous graphite mineralization. So yes, it's close to the surface. It outlines on the surface, it outcrops, and it goes down. And some areas we even haven't touched the depth.
Perfect. Oh, Hugo said yes, so thank you. Okay. Any last thoughts from the group on the call here? It seems like we got through most of the questions on the line. So,
just if Gordana, if there's anything that you'd like to add, since you were to present today, but it got a bit tricky there. So I want to give you an opportunity if there's anything I missed to bring up.
Oh, thank you, Belinda, and apologies, as I mentioned, the difficulties with this climate change. Yeah, we're experiencing today as well. So, yeah, going back to the deposit is really great, and with the work done in the last couple of years, especially with the battery testing, we have proven that we can take that material and turn it into the battery. The batteries that we produce results that meet and surpass industry standards. So we're really happy about it. We're doing another bigger bulk sample, about 1,000 kilograms with CRITEM and COREM that's been supported by Quebec Critical Minerals program, and also we would be looking to do and process, as Belinda mentioned, 200 tons of the material. So we're looking to actually raise the money so we can finish this pre-feasibilities that Belinda mentioned before. And until that money is raised, we won't be proceeding with it. But given the opportunities here is really huge, and something that I just want to reiterate here, we have got 16 millions in the grant. So this is really attractive for any investor. Half of the money that we need to really put this deposit in production is already here. It's almost like a bank or anything else that we can use to do work. So, I think this is a great opportunity for any investor that's coming now to actually help out build the biggest southern Quebec deposit. And it's close to infrastructure. You've seen it's close to Ontario, it's close to US, it's close to I-75, which is called Battery Highway. And what we're trying to do here is to become a significant part in the Quebec and Canadian critical mineral supply chain. And not just the minerals, we want to supply batteries.
Thanks, Gordana.
So thank you three for joining us on the webinar today. Again, we're here with the Lomiko Metals team, and to all of the live audience that joined us on the line today. Just a reminder for all of you that the webinar replays will be available later today or tomorrow on the website. So please just keep an eye open for that. It'll also be posted on social. Outside of webinars, if you're looking for even more content, RCTV is hosting a new live series kicking off this Thursday called Core Conversations. We're welcoming Mike Alcom. He's going to be joining us at 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. So if you're interested, head over to the YouTube channel and get notified to check that out. For everything else, head over to redcloudfs.com to view the webinar schedule, all of our exclusive content, and head over to our podcast as well on Spotify. So that's it for today. Thank you all again, and we look forward to hosting you next time.